Shadow Shiftry looking to put the team on its back. The opponent tries to make a catch. We send back out Swampert. Shiftry gets the Snarl farm down, leaving doubled up on charge with his Cacturne. Might be at full health, but it's going to find itself straight in and straight out. Back out comes Marwile. We've got the next Leaf Blade locked and loaded, and that is going to be all she wrote. Welcome back to the channel. It's been a few days. A few of you might be wondering where I've been. Well, I've been enjoying some time off, enjoying time with the family. It's been Easter. The kids have been eating far too much chocolate and essentially running around like lunatics. Happy holidays to those of you that celebrate. Another reason that I haven't posted, I'm lacking inspiration, to be honest. I haven't got them on for the Master League, and the Spring Cup was pretty boring in week 1, and we're now in the second week. However, I was scrolling through Twitter and I saw a team recommendation from Rocker Babyface. It involved the Double Darks, which are both very glassy, very attack weighted, with a lead of Shadow Swampert. I thought, fuck it, I've got no better ideas, let's give it a try. When I first saw the team recommendation, I'll be honest, I thought Marshtomp would make objectively more sense than Swampert. Swampert's role on the team is going to be to handle Marwile and Tentacruel, and I think Marshtomp with access to Mud Bomb would do that objectively better. However, Rocker Babyface finished 5th in the Pokemon Go PvP World Championship, so we're just going to cook with his team. Without any further ado, let's get into the battle. And in game 1, we see the battle of the water types with 2 dark and grass types in the back. We've got 2 better responses. The team graphic says we're going to safe switch Cactus, a very interesting choice of a safe switch. We end up baiting out Marwile, but this Marwile is running Astonish, and this is more than playable. We go for the Trailblaze bait, forcing the Protect Shield. Cacturn users love to shield everything, but Power Up Punch simply will not get the job done. We withstand the damage, reach the Dynamic Punch. Is the opponent willing to 2-shield here in the mid-game matchup? Though they are not, and just like that, Cacturn is a Marwile counter confirmed. You heard it here first. The Cactus leaves insanely low, which is best case scenario given Lapras minimal farm. I have the option to realign, and you better believe Shiftry is going to enter the arena. The opponent probably going to bait with a Sparkle Aurea, but I simply don't give a shit. The opponent then tries to catch the Leaf Blade onto a Moongus, where it would be double resisted, but they're unsuccessful. The first foul play, Rock Shadow and Moongus below half health. Shiftry going to overfarm, fire off the next foul play. Foul play removes them from the field of play, and this game is already signed, sealed, and delivered. Shiftry unleashes the next Leaf Blade. The opponent tanked the damage, recognise the game's over, and we're off to a 1-0 start. GG's, and thanks for playing. Heading into the next battle, we see 2 former allies. Swampert Ninetales used to make a pretty good core in the Open Great League. Swampert used to be very advantageous into this matchup, used to pace at the same speed as the Hydro Cannon and Weather Wall respectively, but after the Mudshot rework, we're straight 5s and they're 5-4. I actually go for the Hydro Cannon there. Of course, Starter would be super effective, but Shadow and Shadow Crime, Hydro Cannon would still knock out, and of course I was just trying to cover for a catch. I'm just going to let myself go down, send out Shiftry, knowing I'm going to be able to outpace the Leaf Blade. Leaf Blade removes them from the field of play. Oh crap. And out comes Seeking. Running Legacy Poison Jab. Shiftry going to release the Leaf Blade. Leaf Blade force the Protect Shield. I save Shiftry to potentially reset a debuff, and Cacturne hits the field of play. Of course, I'm going to be shielding up the Icy Wind, which will probably knock me out despite not getting same type attack bonus. The opponent continued to stay, and we fire off the Trailblaze. Trailblaze going to unset that debuff. We're now back to neutral. Out comes Jellicent. Oh boy, this game already signed, sealed, and delivered. Today's battles are going to absolutely fly by. Trailblaze going to pick up the 1-hit KO, and we take that game. Heading into the next battle, we see Ferrothorn in the lead position. Another matchup where I think Marshtomp would, of course, be objectively better. The opponent was actually on Metal Claw, so potentially I could have stayed in there, checking the fast move. We're on an ABB team, so I do pivot into our safe switch. We fire off the Trailblaze. I actually shield here, thinking I'll make another, and you're going to see Jamie Finn is a washed up potato. We don't make the next one, but regardless, I think that Sucker Punch damage certainly had some merit, putting him in a range where Swampert only needs to throw one move to knock him out. The opponent going to fire off the Aerial Ace. Swampert withstands the damage. Swampert going to look to farm up, throw the Hydro Cannon. Hydro Cannon is resisted, but still going to knock out from this range. When Ferrothorn does return, I'm just going to stay in, as these mud shots are going to hit for neutral, and the Hydro Cannon, despite being resisted, will do some very valuable chip damage. The combination of the mud shots and the resisted Hydro Cannon have put this Ferrothorn in a range where Shiftry only needs to land the foul play to knock him out. I elect to let Swampert go down. I'm going to put all my hopes and dreams on Shiftry. The opponent banks some energy, try and catch the foul play onto the snail unsuccessfully. Shiftry, smelling blood in the water, going to unleash the first Leaf Blade. The opponent invests the Protect Shield. Oh boy, trainer, if you want that work, Shiftry, gonna give it to him. Leaf Blade, double super effective. Get that snail off my screen. Back out comes Ferrothorn. The opponent likely going to go for the power whip bait, but let me tell you, no bait. We'll be saving Ferrothorn's fate. We've got the foul play locked and loaded, and Shiftry once again cleans up. GG's, and thanks for playing. Heading into the next battle, we see Glissapod in the lead. The immediate pivot into Cacturne, and out comes a water and ice type, which isn't Lapras, it's Dugong running Ice Shard, which is pretty dreadful for me. Well, on the plus side, we're going to force ourselves a shield advantage here in the mid-game matchup and get Dugong below half health. In today's line of 3, we find ourselves in a kind of crazy position where Swampert is the bulkiest member of the team, but anyone that's used Swampert in the Great League, especially the Shadow, you know just how bloody glassy this thing is. However, it's bulky enough to survive back-to-back icy winds. I'm then going to throw the correct 1 mud shot and the sludge. Sludge won't be lethal, and rather than concede a farm down, I'm going to aggressively send out Shiftry and save Swampert as the potential third shield. Shiftry does get a very nice snarl farm down at the cost of quite a lot of HP, but Shiftry completely core breaking the opponent. Out comes that silly electric fish. Shiftry so insanely spammy. This energy generation is just absurd. I fire off the next Leaf Blade, go for an undercharge, but apparently I still cooked it too much, but we're still fine here. Back out comes Glissapod. We fire off the Leaf Blade. The opponent looks to tank the first move, recognises there's far too much damage, and just like that, we take that game. In the next battle, we see Tentacruel in the lead. The opponent pivots into Glissapod, and I send out Cacturne. I'll be honest, I'm not entirely sure how I'm going to deal with that Tentacruel yet, as Swampert's Hydro Cannon and Sludge would both be resisted. The opponent safe switched into Glissapod. I shield up the first X as I throw the Trailblaze on the CMP tie. The opponent invests that Protect Shield. I'm just going to match Sucker Punch farm down and hope the opponent doesn't shield the boosted Trailblaze. However, what's more likely to happen is the opponent's probably going to shield the move, Poison Jab farm me down, and Swampert's going to get scolded to the face. Back out comes Tentacruel. The boosted Trailblaze gets no respect, and Tentacruel's almost knocked out. We send out Swampert. Out comes Electrode. A Sludge, of course, would be super effective. I go for the Bad Manners Hydro Cannon, knowing the opponent's forced to shield. Sorry, not sorry. I'm so frustrated with this absolute nonsense week. I'm trying to have some fun. We send out Shiftry to operate as the damage sponge. The opponent fire off the Wild Charge. I fire off the Leaf Blade. I'm trying to undercharge it. The undercharge looks like an absolute beauty. The opponent is going to get snarl farm down unless they dump their energy. Wild Charge picks up the knockout. We send out Swampert. Tentacruel gets Mudshot farm down. We leave with a charge move, and the opponent concedes the match. In the next battle, we see Tropius in the lead. So according to the team graphic, you play this out with Swampert as we do have access to Sludge. So I throw the correct 7 mud shots and the first Sludge. Sludge goes unshielded and looks like it cleanly 2 shots. However, the Flying Banana Tree can cleanly one-shot me as Leaf Blade would be double super effective. We're going to shield out the Leaf Blade, throw the next Sludge. In an ideal world, this would go unshielded, but of course, if we're going to play out Swampert into Tropius, the opponent likely knows that they're going to be good against my backline. We catch the next Leaf Blade onto Cacturne. The opponent's just going to stay and get there. No, we don't get there. Oh man, that's rough. The opponent here does leave with a Leaf Blade. So I could chuck out Shiftry and hope they instant throw. The opponent does instant throw. So potentially that would have been the better play, but instead we're going to sacrifice Swampert and hope Shiftry can put the team on its back. Out comes Glissapod. We've seen Leaf Blade does a lot here. I don't really throw at the best time in there either, so that's on me. But the opponent also throws an alignment. They're not doubled up. So if the next Snarl after this knocks out, we could be in with a shot here. Unfortunately, the Snarl doesn't get the job done. Shiftry going to get 1 shot. And we're going to take our first defeat. GG's to that opponent. Heading into the next battle, we're looking to bounce back. We find ourselves a tricky lead. We're going to say switch into Cacturne. Cradilly users love to debuff. I'm going to shield this up. We can survive this move, but as the opponent's giving me a huge energy lead, I'm hoping I can do something with all this energy. Out comes Klefki. We're going to force in the Dynamic Punch. Dynamic Punch lands for massive damage, and this is only a foul play. Again, foul play simply won't cut it. Can Cacturne get the resisted Sucker Punch farm down? Yes, we can. Switch advantage is mine. Back out comes Cradilly. We're going to fire off the Trailblaze. Trailblaze force the protection. We get a 1 boosted Sucker Punch, but unfortunately that still doesn't quite put them into foul play range. Of course, I've got the option to realign. I'm going to send out Shiftry, farm up, catch the Rock Tomb, back onto Swampert like an absolute mad lad. Despite this being a pretty crazy play, it does enable me to save my final Protect Shield. The opponent rebanks some energy. Swampert fires off the Hydro Cannon onto Ferrothorn. Debuff, that does absolutely nothing. Swampert is going to be able to reach 1 further Hydro Cannon. putting them below half health, so potentially back in foul play range. We're now in a tricky spot. Flash Cannon would one-shot. I am going to respect it. The opponent go for the Power Whip bait, which is kind of brutal. I'm going to overfarm, fire off the foul play. I thought about Undercharge. I do Undercharge a bit, but it still knocks out. Back out. Comes Cradilly. Shiftry. Might be Glassy, but Rock Tomb simply will not cut it. We tank the first. Because I've got no shield, not like I wanted to tank it, I unleash the Leaf Blade. Leaf Blade number 1, force the Protect shield. I'm then going to farm up, throw the next Leaf Blade on the CMP side. Is this enough to knock out? Yes, it is. Who was worried? Clearly I was, but we managed to get the job done. GG's to that opponent. Heading into the next battle once again. An argument could be made to run Marsh Stomp. I sound like a broken record. We're going to farm up, look to catch the surf, onto Cacturne, where it is resisted, but Cacturne don't really resist anything, and that does like half my health. However, on the plus side, my Cacturne safeswitch does exactly what it's meant to do, baiting out a very hard counter for our Shiftry, heartbreaking. We just miss out on the Trailblade, and then things go from bad to worse. We get one turn bring in and get denied on Swampert. I'll be honest, I was getting super tilted at this point. However, we're still not out of the battle yet. We're going to fire off the sludge. You can see that 2 sludges don't look like they quite knock out, so I'm actually going to shield. Continue to farm up energy. I don't really like shielding Swampert, but I was kind of out of ideas here. We're going to farm up, ensuring we've got 2 charges banked. Sludge from this range should be getting the job done, and let's just hope Shiftry is going to be good against whatever's in the back. The answer to that's Tropius. I'm going to say, you've got me, buddy. I move swiftly on. Heading into the next battle, we found ourselves a problem, and its name is Shadow Polyrath. And they're on power up punch, so things are not looking great. How do you beat Polyrath? I'm not entirely sure, to be honest. I don't want to shield a power up punch either. You probably should shield this, ensuring you get off the next sludge. But if the opponent was to shield that or tank that, I think we're fucked. The boosted counters to do far too much. I'm just going to concede and move swiftly on. Of course, when you're running a spicy team, there's going to be plenty of things that are hard to beat. It's just kind of nature of the beast. In the next battle, we see Ferroful in the lead, of course. Dreadful for Swampert. We say switch into Cacturne, and out comes a Bomber Snow. We're able to force ourselves at a shield advantage here in the mid-game matchup, but this Bomber Snow is still going to be a problem. I send back out Swampert. They've thrown 11 Powder Snows in total. So Powder Snow generates 8 energy. So there was that 88, minus the 35 for a weather one. I knew that couldn't be an energy ball, so I wasn't even calling a bait there. I was just confident that wasn't an energy ball. Able to move a Bomber Snow from the fielder player, send back out Shiftry. The opponent goes to the Power Whip and then continues to stay in. Are you weak, Mr. Opponent? The opponent's still staying in, of course. Now I am going to be forced to shield up resisted moves, but it's nice that the opponent's letting me farm up all the energy in the world. So in a situation like this, it's always important to maximise your energy. The opponent then send out Jellicent, Shiftry, and now going to unleash the Leaf Blade, force the Protect shield. I'm then going to farm up, look to make the Surf Catch, back onto Swampert. Was it necessary? Super necessary. Shiftry can then farm up to the double charge moves. I believe I got the foul play banked. If not, I might be one short, but regardless, we're going to survive a bullet seed. We actually get the extra snarl required on the Jellicent. Back out comes Ferrothorn, and Shiftry once again going to do what it does best and sweep the backline. GG's, and thanks for playing. I think Shiftry's actually slipped under the radar this season as a buffed Pokemon. I used to use a lot of Shiftry in the early seasons when foul play was 45 energy, so to foul play used to be 4-3, 4-3, exactly like Umbreon, of course, using the same moveset. But nowadays it's 4-3-3, and that makes a huge difference, such a hard-hitting Pokemon. In the next battle, we saw Gastron in the lead, of course, 2 better response in the back. I say switch into Cacturne and managed to bait out, hopefully, Shiftry's hardest counter. Dugong entered the arena, got a massive Ice Shard farm down. Again, we're going to use Swampert as the damage sponge. Fire off the Sludge, which won't be lethal, and attempt to get ahead in energy with Shiftry. Sludge goes unshielded. I pivot into Shiftry, and it looks like a Simul swap, as out comes Marwile. Thankfully, this Marwile is running Astonish. In theory, Shiftry's fully walled here. However, the thing with Shiftry is it hits like a truck, so 2 moves will knock out. They haven't got energy on anything, so I'm going to short at the first power-up punch, despite subsequent ones after that doing more damage. I know when the timer does pop up, I can potentially sacrifice Swampert if I need to. Again, we're going to short at this next power-up punch, and then going to continue to farm up. The opponent looks to make a catch. We actually Simul swap back out, comes Shiftry. Shiftry gets that Snarl farm down, and we're now doubled up. Gastrodon might be at full health, but they're going to be straight in and straight out. Leaf Blade picks up that one-hit KO. We leave with another Leaf Blade, and Leaf Blade is going to be all she wrote with Shiftry once again sweeping the back line. GG's. Heading into the next battle, we see Shadow Cacturne in the lead. I opt to enter the mirror, hoping to bait out a Marwile. I've seen a lot of Cacturne with Marwile. Unfortunately, my opponent stays in, and it's kind of funny why they do that. They continue to stay, and I think I should have thrown the Trailblaze instantly as I've got myself far too low. Out comes Gator. Uh-oh, Jamie Finn, you are a potato. This is going to be the team I showcased the last time I posted, like 3 or 4 days ago, and I've completely ballsed it up. Of course, I didn't know that anyone was going to run my nonsense team. They farmed to the Ice Beam, which I will be respecting. I think here I should always no shield. Things have gone from bad to worse. I end up swapping there. Why have I swapped? I don't know. I think I already know the game's over. Out comes Lapras. So if I would have just stayed in with Swampert, fired off Sludges, forced myself a shield advantage, even my Dark types could have cleaned up. I completely miscall the team. We're going to lose, but as someone's running my team, I'm more than happy to lose here. I'm going to farm up, throw the Leaf Blade just to force a Protect Shield. GG's to his opponent, and very good choice on a content creator's team. To be honest, I think that's another very fun team that makes this Spring Cup a bit bearable and makes battles quick. So if you don't want to use this team, give Cacturne, Gator, Lapras a try. I had reasonable success with it. Heading into the next battle, finally we see G-Weezy in the lead position. I guess this is what Swampert's on the team to do, but we didn't see too many whatsoever. The opponent sends out Jellicent. I think, to be honest, I should have went Shiftry, but I'm thinking if I can correctly shield up a Shadow Ball, I might be able to fully farm down. However, the opponent just go for the Surf. So this is fine. We're still going to get that farm down. We're going to leave minimal farm for the Weezing as well, but we are down a protection, which isn't ever ideal. If Chi-Weezy enters the arena, I'm going to go straight for the Trailblaze. Trailblaze is resisted, but certainly going to put him in a range where one move from Swampert will be lethal. We actually reach the next Trailblaze as well, which will either force our shield back or cleanly knock out the Weezing. We now find ourselves with shield parity. Swampert going to do a pretty good job of sponging this energy, to be honest. I'm actually going to go for the Sludge. Hydro Cannon would do more, but I'm anticipating them trying to make a catch. The opponent actually stay in and give up a Protect Shield. No one move will knock me out, so I'm more than happy to tank this. The opponent go for the Brutal Swing and another Brutal Swing, but this isn't Brutal Swing range, so I'm going to always try and save a shield for Shiftry. Out comes Glisserpod, trying to snipe Swampert. We say Swampert, Shiftry hits the field of play, and the opponent ends up throwing on alignment, giving me a free Snarl. The throw after 8 Shadow Claws, so now I can throw 1 Snarl and the Leaf Blade. If this Leaf Blade isn't lethal, I'm going to have to hit the next Leaf Blade, denying their energy. Shiftry, with his monstrous attack stat, able to win the charge attack priority. Leaf Blade, of course, easy going to pick up the knockout. Back out comes G-Weezy. Shiftry going to win the race to the next Leaf Blade, and despite it being resisted, it is going to be enough to get the job done. GG's to that opponent. Heading into the next battle, we see the Flying Banana Tree. Last time, we wasn't able to get the job done, and I'm looking for some redemption. So in GBL, players are kind of creatures of habit. This opponent spammed the Leaf Blade as soon as they got it, so chances are they're probably going to do that again. I am going to shield at the first, throw the Sludge, force my Protect Shield back. Unlock my opponent, I'm going to go for good timing. It's using a 2-turn move into a 3-turn move. It's 1, 4 or 7. I throw the 4 Mud Shots and the Sludge. The opponent now receives the energy for the next Leaf Blade, so we're able to catch and sneak with Cacturne. The opponent then sends out Barbaracle, which is more than fine for me. As we snuck, we're able to reach this Trailblaze on the CMP tie to the Cross Chop. Trailblaze forces the final Protect Shield, and this is best case scenario for me. Of course, I could send out Swampert, knock them out of a Hydro Cannon, but as they're running Mud Slap, which is resisted by Shiftry, instead I'm going to farm up, bank my energy and make the catch back onto Swampert. It's always nice to have Shiftry energy and a shield. The opponent continue to stay in. They don't go for the catch. Hydro Cannon will be removing Barbaracle from the field of play, and it's going to be a one-shielded Shiftry versus the world. Out comes Gastrodon. So you just need to be mindful of the opponent trying to make a catch. You can see I pause a turn, wait for the Mud Slap animation to start. Leaf Blade, double super effective, removes them from the field of play. Back out comes the Banana Tree. We fire off the Foul Play, and Foul Play is going to be all she wrote. GG's to that opponent. For the remainder of the video, we've got one bonus set, where we're going to be using a more orthodox team of Poison Double Dark, a tried and tested strategy. So this variation of the team actually went super well for me. I did stream on my Discord, the Shadow Hub, yesterday. I went 16 and 9, and we're now in the 2700 ELO range. Talking of streaming, I'm in a position to buy a laptop. I wanted to stream on YouTube for a while, but I think the issue is I'm not really sure it's worth it anymore. I don't really think Pokemon Go PvP has all that much interest. But if you'd like me to stream and you think it's worth it, post it down below. And if there's enough support for the idea, I'm happy to go and invest and start streaming on the YouTube platform. Let me know your thoughts. One of the main reasons I went for this team as well is because Jonkers, I believe on Sunday, it might have been Saturday, posted a rank 1 team in the world with G-Weezy, Gator Lapras. You know what it's like. People are going to be copying that team at left, right and centre. So I think this team makes a lot of sense. It's essentially a triple hard counter. The opponent go for the Sparkling Oreo bait. This is only a Sparkling Oreo, which we will survive. I don't want to give too much farm to that Glaring Weezing. So of course, we're willing to tank this move. The opponent putting all the hopes and dreams onto Glaring Weezing. But I can't really see a win con for him. We're just going to be a degenerate. Fire off the Acid Spray. Acid Spray, force the Protect Shield and double debuffs their defense. The opponent going to need to reach 2 moves, which they actually do here, but that Poison Jab is going to knock them out. And we are going to be taking a 1-0 start, heading into the next battle. Awful lead, but 2 very good response in the back. We save switch into Cacturne, baiting out the big fat walrus. I thought that was CMP for a second, but the animation of the Powder Snow was a bit delayed. The opponent doesn't need to throw it, they can just fully Powder Snow farm me down. Of course, the opponent has access to Earthquake, which will be one-shot him, but the thing is, Tentacruel are going to be absolutely dead weight against that Gastrodon. So the opponent want to full send it, enjoy yourself, trainer. We're putting all our hopes and dreams on Shiftry. Shiftry unable to snarl farm down. Oh boy. Shiftry invest the Protect Shield. The opponent then pivots out into Lapras. Shiftry trying to put the team on its back, going to unleash the Leaf Blade. Leaf Blade goes unshielded. Shiftry going to be looking for that snarl farm down. We're now down both Protect Shields. So all we've got to do is make sure the Leaf Blade lands on its intended target. Walrein is still alive and potentially can be used as the sacrificial swap. Out comes Gastrodon. I pause, ensuring the Leaf Blade is thrown into Gastrodon. I'm then going to farm up again, pause. You saw the Mod Slap come through. This Leaf Blade will be moving Gastrodon from the field of play. We're going to snarl farm down Walrein and take that game. Heading into the next battle, we see Lapras in the lead. It's a no thank for me and a safe switch into Cacturne. The opponent sends out a Bomber Snow. I think this opponent plays it super smart. Throwing a charge move before we're potentially able to dynamic punch him to the face. A lot of people go for the 1 shield and farm down, but I like how this opponent's played it, keeping 2 shields intact. This mid-game matchup was so quick as well that Tentacruel is still going to be switch locked when Lapras returns, which isn't ideal for me. The opponent only reaches a Weather Wall, which is an easy tank for me. So as of the non-shadow, 1 Leaf Blade isn't lethal. So I think this Scald is actually quite smart as it puts him into Leaf Blade range. We fire off the Scald, Shiftry hits the field of play, and this is just a Sparkling Oreo, which I'm not willing to shield. That no shield decision was definitely the right idea as the opponent has so very little fast move pressure into me. I now have 2 shields intact, and out comes Cradiddy. Cradiddy goes straight for the Rock Tomb. We're able to fire off back-to-back Leaf Blades before they debuff us. Of course, I'm going to be investing in this Protect Shield. Tentacruel is still around and reasonably healthy as well. So worst case, Tentacruel can put in some work. I actually farm up, make the catch, back onto Tentacruel, resetting that debuff. The opponent fire off the Rock Tomb. They continue to stay in. I look to fire off the Acid Spray. Of course, the opponent returns a favour making the catch, but that's fine for me. Acid Spray doesn't do much of anything. They're certainly going to be in Leaf Blade range. I farm up as much energy as I physically can. While the opponent's hitting for double resisted with the sideways, Leaf Blade picks up the knockout. Back out comes Cradiddy. We're able to fire off the Leaf Blade before the opponent debuff us. We've still got the shield intact. Of course, I've just got to shield this up. Reach 1 further Leaf Blade and we're home and dry. Shiftry only 2 snarls off the Leaf Blade, and you already know from this range Leaf Blade is going to be all she wrote with Shiftry once again putting in work. What a monster it is in this meta. Heading into the next battle. Tentacruel into Marwell and they're on Fire Fang. This is exactly where the team wants to see it. The opponent try for the catch onto Lapras. We bank our energy and Shiftry hits the field of play. Shiftry wastes no time, goes straight for the Leaf Blade. Leaf Blade does big damage, but unfortunately isn't quite enough to one-shot. I am going to respect the Ice Beam that the opponent does full send. Shiftry now going to get a massive snarl farm down. They are going to reach a Sparkling Oreo, but that's probably best case scenario, as it leaves a minimal farm for that return in Marwell. Good timing, of course, would be 1 snarl and the Leaf Blade. The opponent has the energy for the power-up punch. I didn't want them to try and deny my energy. We get the Leaf Blade, the opponent gets the full Fire Fang farm down, but Tentacruel can survive any 1 move. At worst, this is a play rough, which would do a lot, but isn't going to one-shot. Out comes Chestnut, and we're in a spot of bother here, as of course Cacturne doesn't want to see it. We've got Acid Spray, and Jamie Finn is being a complete degenerate. We fire off the first Acid Spray, fire off the second one. The opponent now has a quad debuff defense. We can send out Cacturne. The opponent isn't going to reach the back-to-back superpowers. That felt bad, man. That was such a toxic endgame from me, but it is what it is, and we're going to emerge victorious. Sorry, Mr. Opponent. Heading into the final battle of the set, looking for that 5-0. We see a terrible lead. We save switch into Cacturne. The opponent banks a boatload of energy and send out Gastrodon. Trainer, what are you doing? Why would you send Gastrodon into my Cactus? The first Trailblaze forces the opponent's first Protect Shield. The second one forces them all shields down. I'm more than happy to just let go of Cacturne. Body Slam will be removing me from the field of play. The opponent now has no shields, and we've got a 2-0 shield advantage Shiftry. We actually got one turn bring in there, which is super annoying, which means they're able to outpace by a single turn. I could have fired off the Leaf Blade, cleanly knocking them out. Man, I wish this game worked as intended. Perhaps more people would be interested in it. Despite the game not working as intended, Shiftry still going to do Shiftry things, or at least so I hope. I'm going to farm up, throw the foul play. Is foul play actually enough to knock out from here? Unfortunately, no, it's not. We can just shield, snarl farm down. If the opponents come back into this matchup, chances are whatever's in the back doesn't want to see us. Out comes Jellicent. Jellicent going to be greeted with the Leaf Blade. Leaf Blade almost picks up that one-hit KO. We're able to fire off the next Leaf Blade. Leaf Blade will be removing the Jellyfish from the field of play. We pivot into Tentacruel. Go for the bad manners, resisted poison jab farm down, and take that game. And that is just about going to wrap things up for today's Double Dark Showcase. Despite me absolutely hating this cup and hating this week of GBL, I'll be honest, I had quite a lot of fun. I might actually run this team on stream later today, so if you're not a member of the Discord, it's linked down below. Go check it out and you can see me battle live. So enjoying the content, smash that like button. If you're new, consider subscribing. If you like your battles featured on my channel, links on battle submission form is down below. And as always, a huge thanks to everyone for watching, and I'll see you all in the next one.